Okay, great. Thank you. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining today. Appreciate your ongoing commitment and participation as we start building out this work group to be a more organized and focused subdivision of both the work happening under the Arizona Forward Circular Economy Committee and the crossover into the work that USGBC is leading in the same space. So for today's agenda, this is what we had initially intended to move forward with. But since we're a small group today, I feel like we can just grab some ideas and wrap up early. Because we definitely want to get the input of all the group. And one of my co-chairs is not able to log on and the other two on vacation. So with that, I'll pause here from the Arizona Forward team if you have any big announcements. Have any activities coming up that you'd like to share out?
Yeah, absolutely. We have our central mixer coming up on September 13th at the Yard by Culinary Dropout. All of our events are on our webpage, so there should be links there too. And then coming up on November 1st, we have our Sustainability Summit. This year's topic is air quality, and it should be really good. Yeah, lots of good information with that.
Nice. When does sign up open for the November 1st?
It should open soon, hopefully in September.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Exciting. Save the date. So USGBC, they have some big events coming up in September as well. On the 19th, which is a Thursday, they have their True Zero Waste Workshop. For those of you who attended our meeting last month, we had folks from True present out on the different certifications and benefits. Unfortunately, if you are already attending the Circular Arizona Symposium, you probably would not be able to cross over into this event, but I think if there's enough interest, we can definitely encourage a follow-up workshop on this. I know I'm certainly interested in that. And then on the Friday of the same week, they'll be having a Building Transformation Forum in higher education, focused on women in green and workforce development. We will make sure these links get shared out in case anyone wants to register to attend those. I am not representative of USGBC, so I cannot answer too many questions on these, but hopefully if Anitra is able to hop into the Zoom, she can provide some updates and insights. So one of the things, as we've been kind of preparing and planning out the upcoming meetings for this work group, we realized we didn't have sort of that North Star of what are we actually wanting to have this work group hone in on and cultivate and focus on. And so we as the co-chairs had thought that it may be beneficial to put together a mission or vision statement in the same way that the Arizona Forward Waste and Circular Economy Issue Committee has done, as well as USGBC. So as a refresher for those who are not in both, although I think all of you are, so Arizona Forward, the vision we have put forth for that issue committee is what you can see here, having Arizona recognized nationally for valuing its materials through the development of a circular economy driven by localized reuse, recycling, recovery, and sustainable manufacturing markets, which improves the environmental, economic, and social health of our communities. USGBC, they did not have a specified mission or vision based on their chapter or work groups. So here we've kind of plugged in as an example of just the Green Building Council's overall vision and mission as it relates to the built environment. So at the vision level, that buildings and communities will regenerate and sustain the health and vitality of all life. And the mission is transform how buildings and communities are designed, built, and operated to create thriving, healthy, equitable, and resilient places that advance human and environmental well-being. So between these two, I think there's clearly a lot of similarities in language and goals. And so for our group, we wanted to kind of see, can we pull from both the USGBC and the AZ Forward issue committees, visions and missions, and put together one that's more specific to tackling the C&D waste stream and something that would be of interest and appealing to those of us who are going to be, stakeholders and engaging in this work moving forward. So I guess I'll pause there. If anyone has initial thoughts off the bat, go ahead and come off mute or drop them in the chat. Let me know if we want to. I'm going to escape full screen so I can see you guys better. There we go. So yeah, I mean, for Arizona Forward team, are there specific elements as related to C&D that you all would like to make sure is included in a way that's mirroring the vision statement for your specific larger circular economy work group? I think maybe if I could put my 2 cents in, maybe we want this to be focused on metro versus whole state to start. I don't know, Karen, JB, Alyssa, if you guys, Arizona Forward team, if you guys have any preference on that, but I think for me, JB, you're kind of the only statewide person, so totally on board with making it statewide if you feel there's relevance for that, but I think a lot of us here are in the metro region.
I'm okay with that. And hopefully we can grow it out to everyone at some point too. But I think initially just getting started, and if everyone's here in Metro, I mean, that just makes sense. So yeah, that is fine with me.
That makes sense to me too. I'm not sure there's infrastructure for C&D, outside of the
Elsewhere.
metro area. I think that'd be a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah. And maybe that's something to earmark as, because next we want to talk a little bit about like what goals do we want to set for this work group. And maybe that's a longer term goal of once we have this activated at the metro level, we start to examine how we might expand to supporting, rural communities or a Flagstaff, Tucson, that kind of thing. I'm sure the other major cities would be interested outside of Metro Phoenix.
I can kind of speak to what I'm up to as well, because I'm working on a solid waste management plan for the entire state. And we've identified 7 material streams, one of which is C&D, to focus on. So we will have some focus groups, some workshops coming up either later this year or early next year, where we bring in I may be asking a lot of people from this group to join those workshops, but I'm just trying to capture the stakeholders in this space around the state that we can bring. And the goal of the workshops would really be to identify challenges and opportunities and to create tactics that can be implemented by businesses, by nonprofits, by political by everybody in the state that could help move more work being done with construction and demolition waste. Because I know we all know that there's not a lot being done, and we know like Stardust and Habitat for Humanity, Harvest Eco Salvage, like there's a few players, but there's a lot of material that's still going into the landfill. So so that's what we'll be doing, and trying to identify this into a solid waste management plan under the C&D. And so that C&D and wasted food are my 2 topics that I'm covering, and my other 2 teammates are doing the other 5. So just wanted to bring that up because that will be something coming down the road. And I was really excited to have this group forming just about now. So
nice, good timing.
Yeah.
So JB, would it be, the only word I can think of is appropriate for us to have the work group focus on creating content or gathering information that would then be beneficial to you as you're going through that plan? Or is that, I don't know where like the lines.
I mean, it could be, but I don't want to make it about me in this plan or anything. I want everyone to get what they want from this, but I'm happy to have that as a focus if that's what the group agrees on. But
I mean, I think as maybe a goal, that might be something we'd want to have top of mind, because whatever you guys put forth as DEQ in this plan is ultimately going to be things that we're all going to be working toward to support or achieve. So I think it, if allowable, would make sense for us to help shape that some way.
Yeah, I think the work that Karen's doing too with the reuse resource center, that stuff, I mean, that's going to be really important too. So that could be part of our concentration too.
Yeah. Karen, I see you're off mute. Did you want to share something as well?
Could you move back to the Arizona Forward Circular Economy statement? I'm just wondering, I guess when you were chatting earlier, I was thinking, oh, what should this group do?
Well, here's the statement for the Waste and Circular Economy Issue Committee as a whole, which does focus on multiple material streams.
Yeah. Because I like the work that JB's doing, and it seemed really relevant, and it seems to fit within this. He actually sort of set a mission statement, so I thought maybe we should just have recorded. Oh, we did record you.
Yeah,
Right?
we're recorded now, so we'll have all the notes.
Perfect.
Because I guess I was thinking this group was really intended to not only analyze what's happening, but also help educate and promote and advocate for this kind to grow reuse and recycling and recovery in this one piece of the pie.
That's going to be a huge part of it. Yeah, that's going to be really important, because without our residents participating, without our businesses participating, it really doesn't happen. So that's
yeah, I think when we cross over into goal setting, Karen, I think that what you just stated there very nicely is what we want to capture as the main goal or purpose of this work group is do we want to, focus on education, bringing awareness, or do we want to focus on, real projects, so to speak, where things are getting done in the way, JB, back in the day when we had kind of done those work groups to cultivate ideas for the DEQ grant program, or is it a combination? Because I think from my role here at City of Phoenix, I feel like C&D waste management and solutions is becoming a very, very hot topic. And JB, it sounds like same with you in the DEQ solid waste management plan developments. And so it sort of feels like, is there something we can be actionable on to really, get things moving in a way that can drive real change? And so that's kind of what I'm thinking.
I'm also kind of wondering if one purpose of this group is to, I don't know, convene's not exactly the right word, but there are a lot of people and groups doing different things in this space, or at least examining this space in some way. And I've found it difficult to keep track and keep connected to everyone who's doing something.
Yeah.
And it in my, I start to feel a little bit disorganized about it, and I don't want to duplicate what others are doing. I'd rather work collaboratively. So maybe that's another function for this group, because Arizona Forward is so good at connecting and convening.
Yeah, I love that idea. Yeah, this can be sort of the catch-all for everything happening within this space. And maybe even as we plan out activities for the next few months of the meetings, maybe it's opportunities for you, Karen, to share out on the work you're doing on the RRC concept, and then JB, maybe you'd share out on the solid waste management plan. And then that way, those who are in attendance, everyone is kind of debriefed on what is happening out there in the region at this time. And then we can puzzle some things together. I think could be really beneficial.
And just to add to that, sorry, I'm late, had some IT issues.
No worries.
One of those days. But yeah, I think like even here where we did the announcements, like we could all from our different spaces, like have a shared document. Like if we know something's going on locally, like any kind of event or something we should be paying attention to within the circular economy space, we could ongoing have a sheet and put that in there. And then when we start the meeting, we can go through that. So we're all on the same page and hopefully have, one solid resource. So that's great, Karen. I love that.
Yeah, love that idea. It's
Yeah,
great.
and maybe extend it a little bit to even who are the players.
Mm.
Like most of you probably know this, but I know there's somebody who's doing a lot of raw material recycling for C&D waste, and I don't know exactly who that is. I think he's actually right near me, but those kinds of companies that are not just Metro, that I think is something that's expandable to statewide, especially if we're trying to build an infrastructure that would work statewide. Who's already in those other markets? What's the need? Where are the gaps?
Yeah, those are the stakeholders I'm looking for. So if you figure out who that is, let me know. I know Stephanie Hertzberg and David Hertzberg have also shown interest as well. So I know David's the king of ideas. So
Yes, he's the C&D guru. Yeah, and then I know Karen with the Valley of the Sun work group. Well, I feel like that one, correct me if I'm wrong, is a bit more of like engagement and awareness versus focused goals and projects, so to speak. But perhaps there's through the network that work group has, because you guys are working and engaging folks across the nation. There may be some opportunities for cross collaboration there as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it started as a sort of twofold. One, to understand what was happening in other cities related to deconstruction specifically. And then it kind of grew into both deconstruction and construction material reuse. And one of the pieces we're working on is whether we can establish local training, deconstruction training, not only for general contractors, but also homeowners who might want to support deconstruction. And so, I mean, it's pretty deconstruction focused, although we kind of branch out into things that touch C&D. And so it actually could be used as a format for training, or information sharing. So if this group had topics they wanted, speakers they knew of, that actual thing, the Valley of the Sun work group could actually implement and execute those. So we wouldn't have to put on our own webinars if we wanted to do something like that. That group's already can do it.
I like that idea.
I'm taking notes here. I think are you talking about workforce development also, like for that?
We do on occasion, and that training could be, we're kind of modeling it off of what San Antonio did. They started with training, and then eventually were able to actually put a deconstruction ordinance in place. And one of the modules they did was workforce development training. I mean, it's focused on deconstruction, but so, we'll see. We're at the very beginning stages of it, but it could be a resource to use if this group said, gee, we wish there was a series of webinars or gatherings sharing information on X. Here's some speaker ideas. We could execute that through the Valley of the Sun Decon reuse work group.
Yeah, workforce development would be huge for the legislature to hear about. Anything we can do to create jobs, they're a lot more likely to support. So just throw that out there.
Yeah. And not to go off tangent too much, but Arizona Forward Team, I know we just had that meeting yesterday afternoon with Maricopa Community Colleges on the EPA Community Change Grant. And I believe workforce development was one of the strategies. And maybe there's an opportunity to plug this idea of workforce training and development, quote unquote, green jobs, kicking off with deconstruction as something to plug into that grant application. I just wanted to throw that out there before I lost that thought. So I recognize that's kind of a different thing, but it seems like that could be a really great opportunity.
Yeah, if that's of interest, we've gone a little bit down the road. So we have sort of a template, and could share some information that might be applicable to the grant application.
Yes, definitely. Karen, I'll ping you after, because I know,
Okay.
City of Phoenix side, we had some ideas we wanted to follow up with MCC on, so, we can debrief them on that pitch as well.
And they are working with us with USGBC. We're doing a workforce development expo as part of that September 20th forum.
Nice, okay.
Oh, yeah, just throwing it out there. If any of you have circular economy people that want to be part of that expo, that's what we're trying to start that, doing more intentional work, workforce development. And we're working with the Office of Resilience too. Like you said, they're very interested in that right now. They actually have some funding for it, from what I understand. So.
Okay, perfect. Great timing.
If we have ideas for this group, I think we could even present it to Office of Resilience and but possibly, ask if, do you guys have funding for us to do this?
Yeah.
We have an idea.
I like that. Anitra, let's mark that as maybe a goal idea. I know we're not in the discussion part for goals, but that seems like it could be a really great actionable thing to collaborate on for everyone in this work group. Okay. So I think from here, speaking of goals, that is kind of what we want to jump into next. I'm going to stop sharing so I can actually see all of you guys. So I think we've kind of blended the discussion on establishing a vision for this work group and the goals and targets we want to work toward. To wrap up this discussion around vision mission statements, I think myself and Nitra, Josie and Celia, our other co-chairs, will come together and maybe draft up some vision statements to distribute to you all to share. That way we have sort of this North Star, like I mentioned, that we're all working toward. And then in terms of goal setting, I mean, I think it almost feels like we are, correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like this group wants to be a bit more pragmatic and like, what can we work on to get things done to start to shift here in our region, with already existing entities, like the Valley of the Sun Work Group, which does phenomenal education webinars every month. It sort of feels like we would just kind of be duplicating all of that great work that they're already doing, because I imagine a lot of the folks we'd want to speak here in this work group would probably be the same ones. So if anyone here is not plugged into that, let us know and we'll make sure you're looped into the Valley of the Sun Work Group, because they do some really cool stuff and they have a really great one coming up early September. But yeah, for those of you here, I mean, is there a preference? I think in terms of like education elements, I think I would push for what I had mentioned earlier of those who are already leading the charge in some of this work, whether it's Anitra, you guys with USGBC and cultivating workforce training and development, or JB with the solid waste management plan, Karen with RRC and Stardust, expansion. I think those are the types of things I would want to have presented and then have some sort of working session around to help support you all, versus just general webinars and education. But what do you guys think? I don't want to steer the ship alone. Totally open to
I'm okay
anything.
with that.
Okay. All right.
I am a little stuck on the environmental scan and sort of the map of what's out there, even just in this discussion, like what Anitra was sharing, and then the MCC stuff, and there's just a lot of things going on and a lot of players that I think, could actually be connected to this group that maybe aren't that. So
Make it a goal to brainstorm and figure out all the players. Like, we can map out the system as we all know it in Arizona, I think, and add to it as we learn new things.
That would be great. Yeah.
I don't want to volunteer her, but I wonder if Alyssa would work with me. She's really good at that, the little I know about her.
Happy to help, always, Karen.
she's our research aficionado.
I wonder if we could make some sort of, we could start it, and as we share it with this group, I'm sure a lot would be added to it.
Yeah, I think so, because on our side, we have kind of piecemealed some of this together already. Like I know JB, you have pinged me earlier today. Sorry, I haven't replied yet.
No, you're fine.
On like plugging in stakeholders. And I know Anitra on our side, me, you, Josie, and Celia have already started to try to map that out as well. So yeah, Alyssa and I can work to sort of kick off creating the baseline of here's what we know, here's what's happening, what do they focus on, and then maybe in our next meeting or so, we can come together and maybe finalize it as a group, because I think all of us are connected in different ways, but of course we don't know everything. I think that would be super great to have that mapping done for sure.
Yes.
And then yeah, I think the only other like semi-urgent thing would be an Arizona Forward team. I don't know where you guys are standing on it, but the EPA Community Change Grant, I'd mentioned that you guys had held sort of that brainstorm session yesterday with Maricopa Community Colleges, but it sounds like Anitra, you guys are also collaborating with MCC in this workforce training and development. So maybe that becomes the concurrent goal or push is, okay, we've mapped out the system. We know who the players are. How do we start to cultivate a workforce pipeline that could plug into the pre-existing system? What's missing so that from the economic development side, we could be conducting business attraction around to get that in. Maybe that's some strategies to hone in on next. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, just FYI, USGBC is partnering with them on that grant potentially.
Okay.
So, but we couldn't be the lead partner just because of our status.
Mhm.
Was Phoenix going to do that, or do you know?
So City of Phoenix, we have our own application we're putting forth under our Office of Environmental Programs. But I think for this opportunity that Arizona Forward convened everyone on yesterday, there's certainly opportunity to cross-pollinate, and we would definitely be supportive of cultivating that workforce pipeline as well.
Because from what
But we would not be the lead under.
We froze.
She's adamant.
Yes.
We will not be the lead. Oh, that's funny.
I'm not to switch the subject just slightly, but since she's froze, maybe. One of the things we have found a struggle with, and maybe JB is finding this, you're finding this as well, is the landscape does not support reuse of C&D material, right? The waste hauler economics. And so maybe a goal of this group could be to somehow figure out how to get around that stumbling block, how to make it more appealing.
Yep.
And we've started to talk to developers and contractors about excess material, and even that is, you know, it's easier just to throw it away than to have Stardust come pick it up. So
wow.
Well,
yeah.
it's like, I look at it as like two ways to do that. Either, you know, you create the value proposition, show the math, which Intel, you know, has done and is great and has been in some of these meetings. Like, I think he's a great resource for real numbers. Or the other way is cities adopting different codes. So you either talk them into it financially, or you make them do it.
Yeah.
So there's two different roads, you know, and they're different paths to work on, like, which both be on our list, but.
Right. I guess where we stumble, and correct me if I'm wrong, but even though Scottsdale implemented the green building code, there's no
infrastructure, is it?
Right. And no reason to do it, right? Nobody's watching. Even
no
if you fill out your report, nobody's watching where you actually put it. So
Anthony is going to talk to this group because I've been following, you know, his challenges, we'll call them, in enforcing it. And he's working through it and trying to figure it out. So I think it'll be very interesting to hear.
So maybe that's a goal that this group could help with, to somehow, like you said, create a value proposition that's educational for what you know, what good it does, even though it's probably not as cheap to just put it in your dumpster.
Mm-hmm.
What's the value of getting it used?
Mhm. Yeah, Nitra, you mentioned Intel. Is it Tamir that you've
Right.
talked to? Is
Mhm.
that who? Okay. That's good. Totally forgot, but they're like really good at recycling, you know, obviously at least 90% or more of their waste. So, and construction's a huge one. So,
Yep. Yeah, I think between Intel and DPR, you've got two leaders that are doing it very well. They know those numbers and they know they know the secrets. And
who's
they know
DPR? Who's,
Celia.
oh, but what is the stand for DPR?
That's their contractor. That's the
Oh,
name.
that's what they're called. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're a GC. They're doing they do a lot of work in Arizona, but they're doing the big Meta campus. There's a lot of their case studies right now. And she's, you know, really dedicated to zero waste and figuring out the tiny details. So she's in the middle of it right now. Like,
Cool.
so it's good to know which pieces, which waste streams she's having struggles with. And I think she has, between her and Intel, they have answers to a lot of other waste streams that other people don't, that haven't, you know, worked on it for years and years and years. So
Mhm.
that's why that was leading to why we were thinking of making a toolkit to list the waste streams between those two leaders. We're going to be able to fill in those blanks really quick, I think.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we can publish that to the market. So everybody has it. They don't have to go start from square one and run into all the barriers it's taken these two
Mhm.
10 years to figure out, you know?
I love
And-
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really handy, I think, and something great for this group to.
Yeah. And we would love to publish something like that and put it out. And I think Tamir and Celia can, you know, they're okay with releasing that kind of information publicly. So we've got, you know, a national audience even to be able to publish it, create an article.
Sounds like Melissa has a connection with it
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, my darn work computer, they have all these restrictions. So I have no camera and I was like, I don't even know if my microphone works. But yes, we actually have we're like the second largest hauler in the state of Arizona that does portable toilets as well. So we work with DPR.
Yep.
I know Anitra as well. She's the one who got me linked in with you guys. And we actually have a MRF at our Apache Junction office. So we do quite a bit of recycling on our part as well. So hopefully if you guys have questions as to or thoughts as to like what DPR is doing, I can probably help you with some of the answers on that.
Because you're working with Celia directly with individual waste streams, like overcoming the barriers, right, Melissa?
Yes. More so the guys on the site. But yeah, whenever there is an issue, then she kind of will step in. So she's kind of, if you had to put a label on it, she's like above them. So if they can't figure it out, then her and I will get chit-chatting. But yeah, no, we got a really good system going over there now, but it took some time to get where we are.
Yeah. And you're documenting all of it in detail, I think, right?
Yes, not only do we document with the weight tickets, but we take pictures of every load that is dumped so they can see if there was contamination, what that contamination was, and from what side of the project it's coming from. And then they're able to go over, you know, and talk to those individuals on an as-needed basis to correct the problem, to keep the loads free of debris that isn't recyclable. And that's the hardest part for construction is it's a lot of work to keep trash out of those dumpsters. And a lot of these facilities, they want 0%. And I, honestly, if I were to say we're not trying to move the needle anywhere, be like, how do we get to work with them so maybe they can take 10% and not completely trash a load that was almost free of contamination.
Right.
That's an interesting angle to, yeah, talk to them and see what's going on with contamination. If we could do anything.
Yeah, I don't know if there would be some sort of incentive or just to get them to change their way of thinking, right, to our way of thinking. But yeah, if we could get some more leeway with, you know, the metal and the wood and all those kinds of facilities, then you'd have a much greater success in these diversions. I don't know, did we freeze?
No, I think
Well-
everyone's still here. Amanda's
Well-
back.
Oh, okay.
We're thinking deeply.
Moment of silence, that was awkward.
Guys, it didn't like Zoom anymore, so I'm no longer driving the slides. I'm on my phone. But I've heard all the discussion, and I really like this idea as well.
Mhm.
Okay, so let me go over the list of goals I have so far, see if I missed anything.
Yes, that'd be great.
So workforce development, possibly through Office of Resilience, education, presenting work we're already doing and supporting each other. The first one I put in the upper section, the goals, which is creating a shared space, collaborative space for the leaders. Then a map of the system, which Alyssa was voluntold. Which we already started that. We have an Excel sheet with where we just threw in what we knew. So yeah, I think just working off of that and expanding that would be pretty easy as a first thing. EPA Community Change Grant. How to make it more appealing to support C&D waste, value proposition, etc. And then what Melissa was saying about the contamination. Is there anything we can do there? Am I missing?
I don't think so. Sounds like you've captured it all. I mean, that's a lot of goals for us already.
The toolkit, I definitely put that in there. Toolkit. So create and publish waste stream toolkit. Anything else? It's total brainstorming right now, so you're not married to it.
This is a little bit off the wall, but I was thinking about JB's comment about how the legislature is really interested in workforce development, and then, you know, I don't know that they're that interested in green jobs, but if we focused on green jobs, maybe there's a white paper, for lack of a better words, one-pager advocacy sort of piece that could be shared with the legislature about. It might come out of the workforce development that's already being done, or it might come out of the environmental scan. Here's the breadth of green jobs. And
Yeah, I think if an industry representative could bring that to the legislature, I think that would be pretty impactful and would definitely speak their language, because they're always talking more about jobs than environment. So I think that'd be great, because we have that Circular Arizona has the white paper on circular economy policy. I think that would fit over there too as well. So
maybe something to build into the environmental scan, like number of employees. We could at least form the data point for the scope of green jobs already existing. Something like that.
I love that. That's a great idea.
And we do a yearly, USGBC and AIA, we do a yearly advocacy day at the Capitol where we bring things exactly like that to the legislators. And we have like a really good group of people into that know how to know how to basically lobby. We're not allowed to call it lobby, but you know,
Right. Talk about it. Chit chat.
advocacy. So that, I mean, if we want to do that, we could fit that in with our normal advocacy day, which is usually February, March, just FYI.
Mm-hmm.
So that would give us a target to get it done.
Mm-hmm. And then additionally, we partner with a bunch of economic development organizations around Arizona. So I have those.
That would be great. Yeah.
That might be a good
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to connect us and them.
Yeah,
And they often ask for speakers, by the way, because all of them do events and education.
that's great. Yeah. That's going to be a big thing I'm going to need to do during and after our solid waste management plan is connecting with economic development, because we really, like Amanda's doing, need to bring in more end markets and, you know, people who have businesses that want to address all these gaps that we have. So yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so I think we have a good list.
Yeah.
Let's sit on that, and then the next meeting we can look at it and try to prioritize, because we obviously can't do all of this all at once. And yeah, I'm really thinking about, like, you know, where is the pivot point to make the most impact in the quickest way? Because we're all busy, our capacity is limited. So is there a point in the system or with all of these ideas that would really just hit it on the mark, you know? Or we can break into subgroups to work on different ones, and we're not just, you know, there's two directions. All of us work on one and go through a list, or try to break it apart and do more of these goals. And I know this group is much bigger. I've gotten a lot of emails. People want to see the recordings, just can't make the meeting time. So I would say, we have at least 30 people, Amanda, that are very interested in doing this work.
Yeah, I would say at least.
That's very promising then.
Mm-hmm. So we could make a list of priorities and then divide and conquer with work groups as an option.
Cool. So I think so it seems like we've got some good goal setting here, which Anitra and I will get together with our other co-chairs and get all of this mapped out nicely and distributed to you all. And I know, sorry, I dropped off there for a minute, but Anitra, I don't know if we chatted about what we had in mind for September's work group meeting. Or maybe if we want to take a little time to set a schedule aligned with some of these goals, like knowing the community change grant deadlines coming up, JB, your deadline with solid waste management plan. If we want to, do we want to have the rest of 2024 focused on these a little bit more immediate goals that we have mapped out? How do we want to, I don't know if we want to get into that nitty gritty now, but, or, you know, we as the co-chairs can put together a suggested timeline and then get your guys' vote on it. What do we think?
Yeah, because Karen's speaking October, right?
Yes.
And then Anthony from Scottsdale will either September or November.
Yes.
So we have one other meeting that doesn't have a speaker.
Yeah. JB, do you want to plug in for one of these? I don't know what your timeline.
At some point, we're still discussing. So we had to kind of put our contractor on hold for a minute when we did our public input meetings. We're starting to bring them back on board, and we're also looking to ASU to potentially support as well. And we haven't really ironed all that out yet. So I'm hoping in September we'll have that kind of done and know our direction. So maybe something later I could definitely present on for sure. So, yeah.
Maybe we'll have you as tentative for like December, January.
Yeah, that
let
might
us-
be good.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'll keep you updated as I know more dates and stuff like that. So thank you.
Does it sound good? I think we want speakers. I'm hearing that. But as far as looking for other speakers down the road too, like do we want like 30 minutes speaker and then 30 minutes work group? Does that sound just a way to organize?
I think so. That sounds good. And if we find that one needs more time than the other, we can always pivot and adjust in the follow-up meetings.
Okay.
Cool. We've got about 5 minutes left, but I think those are kind of the big points that Anitra and I wanted to cover with you all today. So we can pause here if anyone has any questions, comments, concerns, announcements you'd like to make about the work that you all are doing. Go ahead and come off mute and share it out. And if nothing, then we can wrap and have a nice 5-minute bio break buffer.
Perfect.
Well, thank you guys for joining today. I think this was a valuable session of kind of figuring out what our key stakeholders here in this work group really want to emphasize and focus on. So us as the co-chairs will debrief, we'll get some of this content pulled together and get it out to you guys in the next few weeks in anticipation of the September meeting. And if you think of anything else, you know where to find us. You can ping us via email or whatever methodology you prefer.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Thank you.